attention. Joining us today to shed light on this critical topic is Daisy Osho, the General Manager of the Lagos State Planning and Environmental Monitoring Authority, LASPEMA. LASPEMA plays a key role in ensuring that physical development in Lagos aligns with the state's urban planning regulations. Correct?
Very correct.
You're welcome, sir.
How are you?
Okay, we'll begin by understanding what are the misuse of these urban spaces. What are the spaces? I understand that some of these spaces are also referred to as informal spaces. So what are the spaces?
Okay, thank you very much. And I think for me, I'm going to try and break it down for the purpose of our people at home, because a platform like this is an opportunity to really get down to the basics and educate our people. I'm going to start from Nigerian Urban and Regional Planning and Development Law, Act of 1992.
And of course, it's a town planner.
By the grace of God.
I hear that. He's a town planner.
Yes, I'm a town planner. I'm also an architect.
An architect.
So that law provides that each state of the federation should also domesticate that law in line with the Nigerian Urban and Regional Planning Act of 1992. And then for us in Lagos State here, very proactive managers of the state, we also have Lagos State Urban and Regional Planning and Development Law 2015-2019 as amended. And this law is the one that we use to guide physical development in Lagos State. Now, let me also go further to say that all the land within the perimeter called Lagos State, that all the land, whether formal or informal, everything called Lagos State, that geographical expression, by law, Mr. Governor is the one in charge, holding it in trust for the good people of Lagos State. Now, the idea is this: Mr. Governor is the... So when people say ungoverned place, I tell you there is no place, that is not governed. Now, this whole land, there are quite a lot of plenary of interest, people of different professional backgrounds, people who want to commune, they want to go around the city without any altercations. Now, it means that somebody must be there to plan, so that everywhere everybody is doing his or her businesses without really obstructing the other person. The carpenter, he wants to make the furnitures. We are sitting on furnitures now. If we don't provide that space for him to do his work, definitely we won't be able to have this. Now, while doing that work, the teacher who is teaching in school must not also be disturbed. There must be tranquility in that kind of a place. Oh, of course, the hospital also may also need some level of, tranquility, some silence, and all that. So, Mr. Governor now decided to say, oh, let me hire professionals that are trained in the art and science of putting all these spaces, to good use, so that everybody will go and occupy your space, either as residential or as commercial or as industrial. So, and then even for recreation, even to move around the city, even for the cables to be laid, even for water pipes to be laid, even for the commercial vehicles to move around. Now, and he hired these people called town planners, who are professionals that have studied the art and science of putting all these spaces to functional, integrated use. Functional and integrated use. So he hired them. And then he created a ministry called Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development. So that is the MDA that warehouses all these professionals. And in that ministry, that's where they produce our ODPs, our Operational Development Plans, that is captured as a model city plans and all other cadres of hierarchies of plans. So, so now the question now is this: how much of compliance are our people, complying with these plans that are actually?
The people are aware of these plans.
Oh, of course, there is no plan. No, let me tell you, there is no plan, no plan, and I say no plan that is made in Lagos State, that there are no stakeholders engagement. As a matter of fact, after meeting with the people physically at various levels of preparation of these plans, for them to also have inputs into them. Apart from that, we also paste it at all the local government secretariats, for people to go there, especially people who may want to interrogate some of these plans and some of the provisions in it, the details, because as we hold the stakeholders engagement, the OBAs are there, the CDAs are there, NGOs, and everybody is there. All interests within that area we are, developing. So nobody is out of this.
So everybody is carried along.
Everybody is captured, and in fact, for any model city plan, we take about, say, 3 stakeholders engagements for us to be able to make sure that we draw down to the people, because these plans is actually for the people. So they must also buy into it and also have understanding. So areas they don't have understanding, we try to explain to them. And then we move on. But
the issue now is the compliance.
The compliance. How our people, comply to these plans. That is where the challenge is. And then you see, you find that most of the time that we really need to do more of the work is actually based on running after all these unplanned developments that we have around. And because Lagos State is a place where everybody wants to be, it's a place where things are running. And I can't tell you for free, this is where things are running. But the rate at which people are coming in is like stressing the infrastructures that we have. So we have to continuously catch up with this rapid rate. Within the next 10, 15 years, Lagos will be playing host to about 40 million. 40 million people. That is the statistics. So now the question is this: the 40 million people, we have to provide for them, accommodate them. We are operating in federation states. So, and that's why you can see all those infrastructural development that Mr. Governor is doing. You understand? All those infrastructural development that Mr. Governor is executing is actually had been captured in our ODPs. And that's why our ODPs are always, we are always evolving them. As we see things happen, for example, you see some areas that are predominantly residential at times. So when we find that this place had become the pressure of the need to turn the place to a commercial, definitely we will.
Why is there a need? I like the example you gave, because it was one of the questions I was going to ask you.
Yes.
That when a particular place has been identified, designated
yes,
to be purely residential.
Good.
How come we now start to see commercial activities in such places?
Okay, fine. Let me take you to Isaac John on Jerry. Before now, some few years back, maybe like 10, 15, 20 years ago, predominantly residential. Now, the question is this. You find that as Lagos economy is booming, we only have Sheraton Hotel on the other side. That's on Bank Anthony Way. Now, the whole place will be filled up. There are businesses that has to take up on the mainland. There are international expatriates that are coming into Lagos, to do one business meeting or the other. Now, will they go all the way to what we call it now, island, to have an hotel, for them to come all the way in the morning? So the question is this: these needs will begin to show up. Now, as this need begin to show up, we now begin to say, and the demands, because planning is about the people. It's not cast on stone. No planning is cast on stone.
Reviewed.
Yes, we review it based on the need and the pressure that is coming on. And that's why you have that place, a commercial corridor now. And there now you have supermarkets. There now you have hotels. There now you have other commercial ventures
and recreational
on that corridor. So that is, but the point we are actually advocating for is that people should not just continue to do development or put places to use without recourse to Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development. See, you may think that business, that use, that development that you are putting there, you may think, oh, it's okay, you can continue to do your business there. But what about other aborting uses? What about other uses that are within that corridor? And I'll give you a typical example. You have, and it has happened though, in this state, in Ladipo, some years back now, about 2-3 years ago. Somebody was dealing with gas, very, very close. And there's another woman frying her akara. Yes. So now the question is, the two of them, they are doing their legitimate business, isn't it? They're doing their legitimate businesses. Now, but the way they are doing their businesses does not conform with that. The two businesses cannot commingle. They cannot commingle. They cannot coexist together. And so, for us as town planners, these are some of the little tiny things, dotted lines, and that we'll try and make sure we cross and make sure that everything is in place. So, recipe for disaster: gas and open fire. So, and that was what happened that day. There was this big explosion that, lives were lost, properties, and all the rest. It could have happened to anybody. It could have happened to me. I may be at that point.
Buying akara.
Buying akara. It's one of our delicacies. Yes, it's one of our delicacies. I mean, at times you see one woman frying akara and there's like 20 people or thereabout will be on her. because that's one of our finger foods. So our informal urban spaces, which I manage, I mean, with the powers that Mr. Governor, gave me, appointed me to manage that agency as Lagos State Planning and Environmental Monitoring Authority, which is an agency under Ministry of Physical Planning in charge of our informal urban spaces, incidental open spaces, our statutory corridors, some our buffer zones, and other critical areas that are captured as informal lands. And I tell you, we have two types of lands, because when we plan all these places that I told you about, so we have some of those lands that are informal, we have those that are formal. Now, those
are not governed and ungoverned.
Not governed and ungoverned. No. There is no space that is not governed in this state. No space. Every perimeter is governed. If you like, go and start to do any building or anything anywhere. Physical planning will come.
Okay, so can you give us examples of the informal spaces you're talking about?
Okay, good. Now, let me explain how these informal spaces come about. Now, when we plan, we either plan, say, some are residential, some are industrial, some are commercial, and all those places. Now, all those places that I just mentioned, we put them, we cut them into plots, we put road networks in them, and then, of course, corridors that will carry some other urban furnitures, either on or under the ground. So all of this we put together in that plan. Now, those plots of land that have been cut out, we push them to Lands Bureau. So Lands Bureau is the one that allocates those spaces for the use, either industrial, commercial, or residential. And that's why everything is warehoused there. Now, the remaining land spaces that cannot be used or allocated to people, to individuals, you understand now? In this case now, those former lands they have coordinates, they have titles, you understand, and they have, definite use, you understand? So those are the ones that are called the formal land. The remaining ones are the informal. Informals are captured as those places that are used for the generality of the people, as captured in roads, as captured in corridors for our high tension areas, places that gas pipelines and the PMS pipelines will pass through, walkways, and all the other spaces that are not, that cannot be allocated. You understand? For either persons or corporate bodies or even MDS. So these are the informal urban spaces. And you will agree with me that these informal urban spaces is critical to the functional use of these formal lands. They're all interwoven. For example, if I know that there's going to be an industrial area here, I create the corridor where gas pipelines is going to pass through to those industrial areas. I'll create that corridor where you can take national grid through for power supply. I will also make sure that there is also the corridor for these fiber cables for the purposes of communication. See, all these areas that I've just mentioned, we have to allocate space for them. And these are places that Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development make sure that nobody goes in there to make use of or do any development. And those places, you'll find that our brothers, Amoniles, you know, they go in there, they sell to unsuspecting members of the
That's
public.
a conversation for
So
another day.
they go sell to unsuspecting members of the public, and at the end of the day, what do you have? The day government wants to build, I mean, government wants to take through this infrastructure, because our plans, they are in futuristic,
Oh, yeah.
like 10, 5, 15 years. Some of our development plans are like that. So it is those things that were provided in those places that Mr. Governor will use now as his capital projects, infrastructural projects. It's from that place it's pulled out. And that's why you have everything so seamless. And that's why you also see that we have to go and demolish, remove some from buildings. But the way we want to do it today, that Mr. Governor is saying, that look, make sure that all these spaces are protected. Make sure nobody goes in there to put it to any use or any physical development. But again, what we find out is that some of these spaces, they can house or they can be put to certain use temporarily. Temporarily, without affecting the major land use that is therein.
All right.
This conversation is quite interesting and quite
certainly
enlightening.
continue this some other time.
Because time is fast spent.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Daisy Osho is the General Manager, Lagos State Planning and Environmental Monitoring Authority, LASPEMA. And we've been talking about physical planning and misuse of urban space.
There's still more to be talked about.
There's still more to be
We'll
talked
have to come
about,
back.
yes, because we couldn't exhaust. In fact, I didn't even,
Ask
I'm not
any
sure I
question.
asked any question at all. So, but we thank you so much for the enlightenment, and I hope that you have learned a thing or two from the conversation today. The conversation continues after this. Stay with us.